Saint Bacon wrote on my live stream after it was finished, but he wrote, "I have to say from personal experience, this platform isn't good for selling or spitballing ideas for solutions. Kind of like how Twitter isn't good for that either. I'm not sure where is a good place to put ideas out there, but YouTube isn't." And I came back at him. Why can't it be? Why can't YouTube be a place for selling or spitballing ideas for solutions? Like, that's my entire project. Saint Bacon replied, "I don't think people really look here for deep technical thoughts. They're looking for something a little more akin to confirmation bias, or at least that's what it seems like from a viewer and creator. Some people want more rich content, but I think that there needs to be a balance between the rich and nutritious content and the pumpkin pie content. I would like to be wrong, but the transition of the skeptic sphere to more low-quality confirmation bias has left me a little jaded." And I wanted to write a comment to that, but text is so freaking slow for me. So I'm just going to talk into the camera for a bit about the skeptic community transferring its energies into low-quality confirmation bias. Because I wonder if the skeptic community, because of the very nature of the algorithms of YouTube and of other social media, that you get addicted to growing your channel and to playing with the algorithm to keep yourself relevant. In order to keep yourself relevant, you have to be tackling issues that people want to look at. You have to capitalize on the car crash looky-loos, the people who are like, oh, look at that bloody mess. And I've seen myself slip into this, and I do this from time to time. I pick something that is hot in the moment, and I take it apart, or I look at it. And that's what actually got this whole experiment, this whole channel going. It was like I was at Evergreen, I started talking about Evergreen. And in getting into the YouTube thing and seeing that, like, okay, if I'm going to be relevant here, if I'm going to be able to make something of myself in this place, I need to grow my numbers. And so for a bit of time during the spring, I started chasing after things that I could mock because I saw that people would respond and watch things of me mocking other things. And I got really disgusted with myself in engaging with content in that manner. Now, I think that there is a possible market for people, for a small but growing number of people who get burnt out just feeling outraged all the time, who do not find or who find themselves not being nourished by outrage. And how do we Well, the question isn't so much how do we convince people to look at something other than outrage. The question is, from a content creator standpoint, is how do I get in contact with people who don't necessarily want to be engaged with that? And that sliver of people is smaller than the people who are invested into this platform and in other platforms in a highly emotional state. And people get invested into the virtual realm by means of attention, and that attention is fueled by emotion. You always have to connect with people's emotions. I brought up Tucker Carlson manipulating people's emotions about Evergreen and saying that it was campus craziness and saying that it was like non-pen in the 70s, or it was like, you know, some sort of like he was evoking the some sort of war memory of the boomer generation. And that is, he did that in order to engage people's emotions. Now, he didn't necessarily have to do that because the Evergreen footage in and of itself engaged their emotions. It brought a lot of attention on that. My question, my interest is in why did that occur? And I think there's a lot of people who want to be connected to the why and into sussing out the what, into the process of sussing out the what. Now, to go back to Saint Bacon's position, I don't think people really look here for deep technical thoughts. I think that's not true. I think that there's a lot of, like, you know, weird technical geeky blogs, you know, like or vlogs or YouTube channels that look about guns or look at explosions or look at science, you know. There's that set. And that set is slimmer than the people who are here who are just basically scrolling through their feeds, looking for something that attracts them and that they can attach themselves to. So with the implementation of a variety of content creators who are looking past that emotion, who have the far sight to see something that's going to attract attention, but then to nourish people beyond that attraction. That's the thing. It's the difference between somebody who's interested in seducing you for the night and somebody who's interested in pivoting that seduction into an actual dialogue, into something that can build upon itself. I think it's absolutely possible for this platform to connect people who are interested in deep content and to connect people, to connect people who are interested in deep content with other people who are interested in deep content. And what we need is people who have the charisma and have the certain, technical skills and the verbal skills and the other sort of skills to animate that attention, but then to lead people to the deeper levels of attention. Past that flush of the outrage or the flush of the infatuation with any given story, with any given content. And I think that what's going to arise, if not on this platform, then in other platforms, is a growing community of people who have invested their life more and more. As the young people spend more and more time in the internet, they're going to get kind of older and wiser and start to look for things that are more nourishing. That's the product of age. So I don't know exactly what happened with the skeptic community. I don't know. I didn't follow YouTube. I was not invested in YouTube when the skeptic community was a big thing. But I know that it started to eat itself. I know the whole blood sport thing started to happen. I spoke with Mundane Matt about this and how he kind of got caught up in that and how he suffered from the fallout and then suffered from the fallout of the fallout. And by that, I mean, it seemed like he was macking on a certain attention and then he got caught up in that certain sort of attention, and that certain sort of attention of needing to look for somebody who's doing something wrong or somebody that we can be outraged against was eventually turned against him. And I don't know exactly how he's doing, but I'm sure he's going to make his way to what he can be sustainable with. But he got burned by that. And I know other people have got burned by that. And I've seen the whole community basically be burnt out by that, both the content creators and the content consumers. And there will always be a bigger set of consumers that are interested in cheap Cheeto-ass stuff. There's always going to be more people buying the junk food than there is the people buying the organic stuff. And then there's always going to be the people who, like Travis Pangburn, who are going to see that the attention is going to go towards the organic stuff, and then they're going to start producing cheap organic stuff. To quote Travis Pangburn, it's becoming popular to think. Now, he had a feeling. He had a very, not genius, but a very, not wise, but a very intelligent feeling that this is where the conversation's going. And he went and he produced that stuff. He didn't produce it in the proper way, and he's suffering the fallout, and he's constantly producing videos and stuff. But there will be people who exploit every given level of attention, but there's always going to be people who are doing that attention, who are exploiting that attention in a authentic manner, and who are connecting with an audience, and who are caring about the humanity of the subject matter and of the audience, and going to be able to build things up from that flush of attention. So we have to be wary about the numbers. We have to be wary about the attention. We have to be wary about popularity, because it leads to populism, which essentially is all about the immediate now, is all about satisfying my immediate, political moment, all about the moment, all about that urgency and stuff. And a lot of the stuff that I deconstruct about the social justice movement is the short-sightedness of their rhetoric and the way that they act doesn't really add up. Things don't really add up. And I think that there's a market for me and for you. I think there's a market for me talking about me and you talking about my audience to actually connect with other people who are interested in not being a part of a community that eventually eats itself, because every community is always already done. History is all already been writ. But because it's being written right now, we can be aware of that prompt and chase after what can build into something greater and not just something that's going to be big in the moment. And that's something that just comes with age, and it's something that we all need to be aware and wary of. And that's my verbal reply to a written statement.